once again to another edition of Quick Trivia with Mike. It's the weekly game show right here on Channel 955 where we test your knowledge of facts. Sometimes they're a little bit more historical in nature. Sometimes they're very contemporary. Hopefully they are always a lot of fun. I am your host and the quizmaster, Mike Brever. Let's sit back and have a little bit of fun for the next half hour, shall we? You know by now how the game is played. I give you 3 questions, and I challenge you to come up with the trivia answers that make them fun. Well, that's my phone, but you folks are a little bit more important. So we're just going to keep on going with the show, if you don't mind. You know, we have a new tradition here at Quick Trivia. We list the birthdays of the week, and this week is a very, very special week. Why? On November 17th, one of our residents right here at East Castle Place became a centenarian. Roy Arndt turned 100 on November 17th. Roy likes to claim he's a centurion, but I'm not sure 100 people answer to Roy on a daily basis. I think centenarian may be the correct word. Lib Fantry celebrated the 50th anniversary of her 29th birthday on November 16th, and Terry Sundberg the 54th anniversary of her 29th birthday on November 13th. So happy birthday to all the birthday kids. If you see them this week, be sure to tell them how much you appreciate that they're experiencing another birthday and how happy we are that they're doing it with all of us. Now, you know how the game is played. We begin by giving you the 3 answers to last week's questions, and then I pose 3 new questions for you. Last week, however, I was gone, and my producer and cameraman, as well as my artistic director, Scott McFerrin and Cooper Ledvina, they sat in for me. And in sitting in for me, they posed the questions. Unfortunately, I don't know how something like this happens. They started off last show on the wrong foot. They actually indicated that there was no winner for the previous week, and they claimed the prize. They indicated that they won because the previous week there had been no winner. I understand they were dancing around with some big fancy trophies and everything. I think it's egregious that something like this happens where they don't have an opportunity to actually declare who one of the winners truly is. If I had them here right now, I'd give them a piece of my mind, and that's saying a lot because I don't have many pieces to spare. So, at any rate, we have to correct this, and last week's winner actually was Sandra Meyer, and I am so upset with it. What are you guys doing here? It's Cooper and it's Scott. What? I am shocked. You know, folks, here's the thing. You never see these two usually. I never get to do the show with them because they're always behind the camera. Last week I give them a chance, and look at what happens.
We blew it.
Unbelievable.
Sandra and everyone out there, you're not worthy.
I'm going to have to take
You're
these
not
back.
worthy.
These are going to wait. Maybe some future week they will earn them, but not this time.
You're just that close.
Yeah, we're so close. Our place in the sun.
So how are you
We
guys?
flew too close to the sun. That's what it was.
And our wax wings melted like Icarus.
There you go.
Yeah.
Most of you probably haven't been keeping track like the 3 of us, but this is our 87th show now?
86 or 87?
86 or 87.
Yeah.
So we've been together a long time.
86.
I think our 2-year anniversary is going to be in February sometime. We're really looking forward to doing something special. I really want to thank the 2 of you for filling in for me last week, in spite of the fact that Sandra was left hanging a little bit. But
Sandra, we threw you under the bus, and we've made amends in private, but this is our public flogging, if you will.
This is the public flogging.
Karma will get us back. You know, we filled in for Mike. It's a dirty job, but someone had to do it. So.
Well, that's true. But in spite of their faux pas, I think they did a great job last week. Don't you folks think so? I know I did. You two, in addition to working on quick trivia, also do a variety of things in the Department of Community Life, one of which is something that's been hanging now for probably up to a month, and that's the scavenger hunt.
Right.
And actually, let me bring it back out here. The winners of the scavenger hunt are going to be getting magnificent trophies like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're all excited about that, and I know you're all wondering, when are we going to find out who the winners were? That really never was decided. So I'm going to make an arbitrary decision right now.
When we say so.
There you go.
Right? Yeah.
But we're going to make a command decision, and it will stand. I think the next State of the Castle, which I believe, because they're usually on a Thursday, next Thursday is Thanksgiving. No State of the Castle on Thanksgiving. It might be the week after that. We will announce the winners. We have a first, a second, and a third place trophy. I know you all had a lot of fun playing it, and now you're going to find out who the winners were.
I believe there are some other prizes as well.
Are there really?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it because we can be wrong, obviously. But
Yeah, we can be very, very consistently wrong.
We're not going to go there. These guys do a great job, and
But when we're wrong, we don't mess around. We're completely wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
Even a broken clock, yeah.
However, our viewers will remember that about 5, maybe 6 months ago, I gave you 3 questions. Turned out all 3 were wrong. So, you know, I mean, I understand how things happen, and there it goes.
There might be even a little of that this week, but we'll get it there.
And I'll tell you really what ended up happening was that my being gone on vacation, there was a mix-up in where to get answers to the previous week's questions, and that's why it happened. We understand. So,
Well, we showed the completely wrong week one time of whatever week it was. We showed quick trivia from a month earlier, and people were like, "I think Mike has done these questions before," and then we figured out.
did anyone remember the answers?
Oh, I think Sandra got them all right, surprisingly.
Twice in a month. There you go.
Yeah.
I can also tell you, though, that we're really planning a nice big bash for our 100th party, which is going to be coming up very soon, shortly after the holidays. We'll be gearing up for our 100th episode.
Yeah.
Lots of wonderful ideas about how to celebrate that momentous event have been talked about.
It's a real milestone.
We'll take it from there.
We're going to be able to go into syndication then.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's get into last week's questions, shall we? You gentlemen asked a question that had to do with the poppies in Flanders Field. What was the answer to that question? And give a little bit of lead into it.
Yeah, well, the question pertained to why are there red poppies on Veterans Day? And the answer is because of the poem In Flanders Field.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, by John McCrae, yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, it's a wonderful tribute to all the veterans, even though that originated from some historical facts from World War I.
Yeah, over on the other side of the big drink.
Absolutely. It's become a testament to veterans across this great land on November 11th, which actually will be an interesting trivia question someday as well. 11th hour, 11th day, 11th month, as it was selected. And I have a wonderful trivia question for you about that. We'll deal with that at a later date. So the answer was?
In Flanders Field.
In Flanders Field.
That's the origin of the
okay.
very symbolic red poppy.
Then there was another question you had
Yeah.
about a movie and a television show, a crossover between the two. Give us the answer on that one, will you guys?
So what's the connection between Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock and Leave It to Beaver, the TV show? Yeah.
And the answer was?
Well, the best answer probably
Okay.
is
There are several.
There are several that actually went through the rabbit hole on this one. Jerry Mathers was in
Mathers.
Mathers.
Jerry
Jerry
Mathers.
Mathers. Somebody else. Yeah.
Jerry
Jerry
Mathers.
Mathers Jerry Mathers.
Right.
Jerry Mathers.
Right.
Was in makeup one day, and I believe the makeup lady who was working on the head of Mother from Psycho,
Oh, okay.
mummified mummy, she was pasting hair onto it, and she asked him if he would like to paste a few strands of hair on the disembodied head.
Very
and
good.
he did. I think that was great for a little boy to do.
Excellent.
While waiting in a makeup chair. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, there also were a couple less significant connections too. A car, maybe, or
A car, and we found this out after the fact.
Yeah.
and then it just started to untangle and unravel.
Yeah.
And there
Well,
were
we
all
never went any
kinds
further
of.
because who would think that there would be anything else that would tie Leave It to Beaver and Psycho together?
Yeah.
Never bothered to look.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out they were both filmed on the Universal lot at exactly the same time. Hence, the makeup person working on both. Well,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
this car absolutely was used in the second season of Leave It to Beaver. They were done with the car. They were getting a new car. That was part of the show, I guess, one of the episodes. So they got a new car. The car was no longer needed. The car then was used in Psycho.
Okay.
It's a lot of connections. Yeah.
So there's actually quite a few connections, right?
There's
And
probably
that's what
more.
they-
There's probably more
Could
out
be.
there. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to question 3. There was also a topic brought up about the mask that Michael Myers wears in the movie Halloween. And the mask actually was a facsimile of a famous actor. And the answer was
The answer was William Shatner.
from Star Trek fame.
Right.
That's correct.
And the story of that, and it was actually inside out and painted a little bit, so
Painted,
it's not quite
correct.
as recognizable.
And the eyes were widened a little bit.
Yeah.
Right, and,
Yes,
and
right.
if you look on the internet, you can dig into that because there's quite a bit about that. William Shatner even talks about it himself and things. But the original, and who was it? Cameron did Halloween, I think.
John Carpenter.
John
John
Carpenter,
Carpenter,
yeah.
you're right.
And Mustafa Akkad.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for
Quizmaster.
saving me.
I just happen to know Mustafa Akkad's name.
The
What do you
budget
say?
the budget was tight for the first one.
Sure.
And so they had the props department was coming up with, they needed to cut corners. So then they had gone and bought William Shatner.
Like
mask.
$1.50.
It was a Captain Kirk
At a dime
mask.
store.
It was a steal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they just frightened it up by painting it, opening the eyes a little bit, and yeah. I actually knew the answer to that question. Another tie-in between question 2 and 3, Psycho and Halloween, is that Jamie Lee Curtis, who is the heroine in Halloween, is the daughter of Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis, and Janet Leigh was the victim in Psycho.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So really some wonderful entanglements here, and actually in Halloween H2O, both mother and daughter appeared in that movie.
Oh, I didn't realize
Janet
was
Leigh
in.
drove
Yeah.
up.
Jamie Lee Curtis came back. I knew.
Jamie Lee Curtis came back, and Janet Leigh was in. She was asking her daughter directions. She was an employee of the school where Jamie Lee Curtis worked.
Wow.
But lots of entanglements there.
And one of the other reasons why we wanted to bring out this question was because we've been trying to get William Shatner involved in the show because William Shatner went to space and we have not had the
He
chance
did.
to talk
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
So-
He did, right. So it worked out very well. The fourth question, kind of broke tradition here. They came up with 4 questions, 2 for each of them. Kind of a nice gimmick.
Thanks, Mike.
Two
Heavy on the
movies. 2 movies that were spun from the initial storyline. Is that how the question went?
The script. What
the
2
script?
movies come from the same script?
Okay,
Yeah.
and the answer?
The answer was E.T. and
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
E.T.
I
and
keep blanking
Poltergeist.
on the Poltergeist.
Yeah.
They're here.
I loved Poltergeist. Have you ever seen how it begins? There's the Labrador, running around the house eating all the snacks that the little kids had left behind. As they all go to bed, dog ends up having a wonderful night, having eaten all the snacks. Great way to start a movie. I enjoyed that.
And for whatever reason, I find Poltergeist to be more inherently frightening than some of the other things. I mean, Halloween doesn't really scare me. The slasher guy doesn't really scare me. But the thought of just being sucked into the netherworld and taken from your reality just
Well, yeah. I think
It seems pretty frightening.
I think part of it is too. It's a suburban family home. You know,
Right.
it's in there. Everything seems so commonplace. You
A
really,
little girl.
yeah. You get the whole family. You feel comfortable. That's it's domestic, and then
I agree.
strange things in the house.
Don't
like
ever
the
get too
TV.
comfortable.
It just unravels really fast.
This-
Now, that unravel comes back in again.
Yeah, that's
It all unravels very fast.
We have a lot of threads that run through quick trivia with Mike.
There you go. There you go.
just don't cut the blue wire.
That's right. We also have a tiebreaker here. There is bumper music, which Scott actually adds at the beginning and end of each show. What was the bumper music last week?
That'll be the day, Buddy Holly.
Nope, I'm sorry. It is Buddy
I've
Holly.
gotta go.
It's so easy to fall in love.
It's so easy to fall in love.
All right, so easy to forget the song.
It is so easy. And now you see why they're typically behind the camera instead of in front of the camera.
There are many reasons. Yeah.
But they do a wonderful job. And I've said it many times, if there's anything you like about Quick Trivia with Mike, these guys got their fingerprints all over it. So again, I thank them all.
I knew it was Buddy Holly. Can't we get a mulligan here?
Of course
Yeah.
you can. Of course you can. What's a
You know-
mulligan in ping pong, though? I'm not sure what that. A do-over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a do-over. Yeah, a reserve. A
You'll be
reserve.
able to decide that because you're the new commissioner of ECP International Ping Pong.
Yeah.
I saw a reference to that, and we're going to have to explore just what that all means, because all I saw was a cryptic note, and we're going to see. But I'll tell you, it's not the first time I would be a commissioner of a ping pong league. And we'll talk about that in the
What?
future sometime as well.
Who would've known?
I've actually been a commissioner of a ping pong league back when I was in high school.
Was
so-
it on a cruise ship?
No, I was in high school at the time.
Wow.
So there you have it.
I went to high school on a cruise ship.
And well, I could have, but I didn't. I didn't.
What a colorful history you have.
Who knew, right? Who knew? That, folks, is the first half of the show. All the answers. The winner, we've already announced it now 2 weeks in a row, Sandra Meyer. Congratulations, Sandra. Welcome back to the winner's circle. And mea culpa for our faux pas last week. Hopefully, you'll forgive us for this one, all right? Maybe we'll get a mulligan on this one, all right? All right, we're going to take a brief intermission. Go get you folks, or go get yourself some brain food, cup of coffee, a donut, because we've got some real brain teasers coming up for you in the second half. Hurry back, folks. I'll be waiting right here.
Thank you all for coming. I think we should call it a night.
Absolutely not, Don. You stay there.
Did you buy him a pony?
Un, deux, trois, quatre. Zooby zooby zoo. Zooby zooby zoo. Zooby zooby zoo, zooby zoo, zooby zoo. Mon Dieu qu'ils sont doux. Zooby zooby zoo. Zooby zooby zoo. Zooby zooby zoo, zooby zoo, zooby zoo. Le bruit des bisous. Dans les buissons, sous le ciel du mois en doux, les amoureux glissent à pas de loup. Comme les oiseaux, ils ont rendez-vous. On entend partout. Zooby zooby zoo. Zooby zooby zoo, zooby zoo, zooby zoo. Mon Dieu que c'est doux. Mais dites-moi, savez-vous ce que veut dire entre nous? Ce que veut dire zoubizou? Ça veut dire, je vous l'avoue. Mais oui, je n'aime que vous. Zoubi zoubi zou, zoubi zou, zoubi zou. Mon Dieu que c'est doux. Zoubi zoubi
you sing like that?
Why don't you look like him?
Hey, welcome back to the second half, everybody. I hope you got yourself a little bit of nourishment because you're going to need it for some of these questions. We've got some real brain teasers for you. And we're going off on a little bit of a tangent of parts two, but you talked last week about wanting to work in William Shatner. Just been in space, Star Trek. I've got a question about space as well. We're going to be talking about NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which is an independent agency of the United States federal government responsible for the civilian space program as well as aeronautics and space research. NASA was created in 1958 and succeeded the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, whose acronym was NACA. You know, NASA has been responsible for some of the most dramatic, magnificent achievements of the United States ever since our founding. Putting a man on the moon, creating the space station, really some monumental things, and the science that we're learning because we have a presence in outer space now. It is something that really leads us into the future, and I know as a country we're all very, very proud of it. On January 12, 1958, NACA organized a special committee on space technology, headed by Guyford Stever, and that really led us into where we are today. The Apollo missions and the Mercury missions and the Gemini missions, now the space station. All of that really is because of the vision of truly brilliant people in the late 40s and the 50s. And I know you always hear about the space race, but I'll tell you there is something about scientific achievement for its own merits, and that's what space exploration is all about. I, however, have a question for you. In 1967, the first astronauts to die in a spacecraft tragically took place. Who were the first astronauts to die in an American spacecraft? Took place in 1967. Very tragic occurrence. That is question number one. 1967. 3 astronauts died in an American spacecraft. How did that come about? Question number 2. We're going to take a look at Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a national holiday celebrated on various dates in the United States. Canada, Grenada, St. Lucia, the United States, and Liberia, of all places, all celebrate Thanksgiving. We don't always do it on the same day, however. Second Monday of October is Thanksgiving in Canada. Fourth Thursday of November is Thanksgiving in the United States. Although that wasn't always the case. Back in the early 40s, you had the late 30s. FDR changed it to the third Thursday so that the shopping season for Christmas was lengthened as a way to try to help get America out of the Great Depression. After 2 years, the merchants decided they hated it, and it went back to the fourth Thursday. In theory, it commemorates the first Thanksgiving, which the Pilgrims celebrated at Plymouth. We all know how hard their initial stages were. The Native Americans in the surrounding area really came to their rescue and showed them how to plant corn, showed them how to fish properly, showed them how to hunt for the deer that were prevalent. At the first Thanksgiving, sorry to say, there probably weren't turkeys and things like that that people celebrated with. But nevertheless, it's a very, very special day. It is now the traditional lead-in to the Christmas holidays. It's the official beginning of the sales season for Christmas as well.
So no turkeys at the original Thanksgiving?
Probably not. Probably
Macy's
not.
parade?
No Macy's
No
parade.
balloons?
No balloons. And actually, the very first Macy's parade didn't have balloons either. Those came 3 or 4 years later. It really was just bands heralding Macy's, the beginning of the Christmas season, things like that. So that's how it all worked. So yeah, Thanksgiving has a tradition all its own that goes over and above the date or the event that it celebrates back in 16 whatever when it occurred. And of course, up until the Civil War, Thanksgiving had to be commemorated or announced every year by the president. Abraham Lincoln was the very first one to say that every single fourth Thursday in November will be Thanksgiving Day. Prior to that, Thanksgiving had to be a presidential decree every year.
You just got tired of having to remember that.
I don't have to do that again. Yeah.
Well, there was a tremendous lobbying effort and stuff like that. My
No
question...
Thanksgiving this year.
You all been very naughty.
And actually, by the way, it occurred in 1863. In 1863, Abraham Lincoln determined by proclamation that Thanksgiving would be an annual holiday. My question to you,
That's interesting.
there is a direct link between our celebration of Thanksgiving and the poem, the children's poem, Mary Had a Little Lamb. Mary Had a Little Lamb. What is the direct connection between Thanksgiving, our celebration of Thanksgiving, and the children's poem, Mary Had a Little Lamb, whose fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the little lamb would go? So, that was question number 2. Question number 3. Going to go off onto another topic completely. Clothing. We're going to take a look at women's stockings, also known as hose, hosiery, especially known as hosiery in a historical context. Men wore leggings at one time that were called hose as well. They're typically close-fitting, various elastic garments covering the leg, from the foot up to the knee, or possibly all of the thigh. Stockings vary in color, design, and transparency. Today, stockings are primarily worn for fashion and aesthetics, usually in association with mid-length skirts and dresses. Historically, however, stockings were virtually synonymous with socks, and it was for both genders. It was a way to keep warm, obviously. It was also a stylish thing. Before the 1590s, stockings were made of woven cloth. The first knitting machines were actually created to make stockings. So there's really a historical tie-in that has helped the fashion industry in many ways. The stockings themselves back in those days were typically made of cotton, linen, wool, or silk. Before the 1920s, stockings were typically not worn for fashion. They were, in fact, worn for warmth. The introduction of nylon in 1939 by DuPont. DuPont invented a quick and easy way to make nylon, revolutionized this industry, and it has changed it for all time. People understood that this was going to revolutionize it because it would change the women's fashion industry for all time. So much so that when they were first introduced on October 24th, 1939, in Wilmington, Delaware, by the way, there was a condition put on the sale of stockings. The silk stockings I'm referencing here, made by DuPont. What did women have to do in order to qualify to purchase silk stockings beginning in October of 1939? And that condition stayed in place for 6 months. What did women have to do to prove that they were eligible to purchase silk stockings beginning in October of 1939, and that condition stayed in place for 6 months. That, my folks, is question number 3. A little bit of an apparel. The holidays are coming up. People are all going to want to look nice. We talked a little bit about Thanksgiving, and we also talked a little bit about the space industry. There you have it. As always, I can actually do it in person this week.
You know, I was listening to that. That's very interesting, but you know how they say that fashions are cyclical and they always come back? Thankfully, that whole colonial thing just never came back.
Isn't that great? that is great. You
If
know,
we had an actual budget, we could have just snapped into, and we'd be in colonial clothes right now, but I'm just really glad
if
that.
we only had a green screen, right? Wouldn't that be great? Maybe we should work that into the budget.
Yeah, after the 100th episode.
That's great, a green screen.
We should-
That would be wonderful.
We should get a kick up in the budget for the 100th episode.
That would be wonderful.
We have researched it in the past.
Okay. You all know by now how to win. Get your answers to me by noon on Monday. You can call me at 963-8425 and leave a message. You can email me at mbriever@eastcastleplace.com. You can write your answers on a sheet of paper and slide them under my door. Or, gentlemen, what else could they do in my office with those questions if they wanted to?
Walk right in. The office
Walk
is never locked.
right in! The door's never locked. Put it on my conference table. I'll be glad to get your answers that way. Or stop downstairs and give them to our concierge at the front desk. Ask them to put it in my mailbox. When I come in on Monday, I'll be sure to get it. That's how you play the game. Be sure to identify the bumper music as well, because that is the tiebreaker. Once again, as always, I really want to thank the president of ECTV, Tyler Gudex, our executive producer, Laura Wengler. My hats are off to these two wonderful gentlemen, the backbone of the show, my producer and cameraman, Scott McFerrin, and as always, my artistic director, Cooper Ledbina, and I really want to thank them for filling in for me last week. Believe it or not, this is the only show that we have had on ECTV continually with no interruptions for 88 weeks now, 87 weeks now, maybe 86. We're going to have to do some trivia research and find that out. I also want to tell you one last thing. I want to give you a real plug on this. I participated in a program that their department put on yesterday. Pastor Harold put on a remembrance service for those loved ones that we've lost this past year. It was a moving program, and I encourage you all to watch it. It will be rebroadcast on 955. It's a wonderful tribute to the loved ones that we have had here at East Castle Place that we've lost in the last year. My hat's off to Pastor Harold and everybody who helped plan that. It was just wonderful. I also want to thank all of you for tuning in. It's our pleasure to be able to bring this show to you. I enjoyed being here this last half hour, and I hope you had an opportunity to enjoy it as well. As always, I am your host and the Quizmaster. I'd like to thank my guest hosts for the week, Scott McFerrin and Cooper Ledbina. So long, everybody. We'll see you next week.